This educational film is Volume 1 in a series of climate change films with a focus on Lagos, Nigeria. This volume focuses on solid waste management in the city of Lagos, and it brings together private-public participants to find a lasting solution to the waste problem in Lagos. Different initiatives ranging from waste reduction, waste education, recycling, and waste to energy are discussed. The goal is to encourage behavioral change among Lagos residents to reduce, reuse, and recycle their waste so that Lagos can reduce the volume of waste that gets to the landfill.
I met some high-ranking people in the conservation movement here, the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. Their patron was the Duke of Edinburgh, who I met a couple of times. And I was very impressed that somebody of such a high status should give so much of his time and activity and his life to conservation. So the more I learned about it, the more I realized how important it was. And there was a particular phrase that he made when he came to Nigeria once when I met him, and he said that we are not the owners of creation and we must hand this earth back to our children. And hopefully we hand it back in a good way. So I was very impressed with that. My wife, who was a tremendous singer, and I was into music production. We, did a few songs. We made an album called Green Leaves, which is a little bit ahead of its time. That was about 25 years ago. When you wake up in the morning and you breathe, give thanks to Mother Nature for all those trees and all those green, green leaves, so you and I can breathe, And other songs, I was even the rapper there, Not that the greed motivation moving on the fast lane, industrialists, they play a dangerous game, falling all around a lot of acid rain, this whole situation is getting, so there you are, Papa Rapper, So yeah, we were projecting this, many, many years ago, and people were sort of looking at us as if we were crazy. He said climate change is real, and if we lose the battle against protecting the tropical rainforests, we shall have lost the battle against climate change, and we shall be, in his accent, we shall be bequeathing unto our children a poisoned chalice. And when I related to that in our own lingo, it means say we're going to give our pikin calabash where poison they full inside. And I said, wow. And I started really doing more research, and I realized he was spot on. He knew exactly what he was talking about, and he was extremely worried. And so I became an activist from that day, and I've dedicated my life, every waking moment, even the sleeping moments of my life, to creating that awareness amongst people that, hey, we are about to hand a cup full of poison to our children because of the way that we have been behaving in relation to this wonderful, wonderful creation.
We should not be here. We should not be talking about waste in our drainages, in our canals. We should not be talking about people dropping waste in the medians of the road. We should not be talking about people indiscriminately dumping their waste and have no regard for the environment, and assuming that government is responsible and it should be kind of social CSR, So these are some of the challenges of waste management in this part of the world.
Our people have this attitude. The communities we serve, our local communities, they have this attitude of, why should I clean up my environment when there is an organization set up by government to take care of the environment? It's a mindset that we have continued to encounter In fact, in a particular location, while we were carrying out sensitization and sanitation activities, somebody came out and threw waste, knowing that we were cleaning it up. We are mopping up that which already exists in the environment. And you came and you threw out some of your home. And I walked up to the young man, an elderly, not a young man per se. I said, why would you do that? He said, but you people are cleaning up. You clean it up. You see, it has to do with mindset. When somebody deliberately or intentionally throws stuff out of his car window and expects that there is a lawman, there is an agency of government that should clean it, then you know something is wrong.
You notice in Lagos that a lot of these people that we assumed are educated, they are the ones that wind down and throw possibly their gala sachet or the PET bottles away from their car. They don't want the dirt in their car, but they can just do that on the road.
So you have private drivers, private car owners, and the commercial car owners. So let's divide that into two first. Now, the rate that you would see the private car owner buy stuff, eat stuff during traffic, and then throw that as in trash that on the main road, I would say in my how many years of driving, I would say I can knock that down to less than 1%. But then if we now go to the commercial drivers, I would not say it's the driver, because I've not seen any commercial driver, because most commercial drivers, what is their head is to drop you and quickly go pick the next set of people. But with the passengers at the back, yes, that is where you see all that happening, because if there's traffic, what you see is a lot of passengers, they are eating, they are just they just keep trashing on the highway. I see a lot of that. This is why I said you have to break it out, into two. And don't forget that most of your private drivers have cars that will be fully air conditioned. So before you can now wind down your, just doesn't work. But what you see most of the time is the commercial inclined vehicles do a lot of that, but not necessarily the drivers. Is it a good thing to do? No, because a lot of times, most of these things you throw out sometimes are very dangerous for cars coming, because what happens is not only do they trash just food items, some people throw out, just metals. To take a canned drink, you throw out the empty can on the highway, and a car coming can puncture tires, anything can happen. So I want to believe that a lot of people do not understand the impact that has.
Yeah, well, I go around picking all the time. It's very frustrating, the amount of plastic I have to pick. And unfortunately, despite the notices on the waste bins, people are not paying that much adherence to them. So we just have to do it ourselves, and we pick it and we separate it. At least we're able to separate the plastics and most of the metals, and then the organics go back into a very crude composting system that we're developing. And the plastics are given to some people who handle it, from what we can see, pretty effectively, reasonably effectively. We hope and assume that not too much of that plastic ends up in the landfill or in the waterways.
Weekly, typically we keep over 50 tons of recyclables away from the landfill, over 50 tons.
Your circle is there to say that, well, instead of us dumping the waste, let's look at the picture of what we can do with the waste.
Some of the regulatory bodies for environmental and waste management activities here in Lagos particularly, we'll be talking about LASEPA, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. They are in charge of environmental protection generally, policy formulation and things like that. But beyond them, the parent body is the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. We are talking of the ministry being overseen by the very distinguished Honorable Tunji Bello and our very amiable Mrs. Aderonke Deneye. She's the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of the Environment. Now we have the Lagos State Waste Management Authority. Loma. They are very popular because they interface with the people every day.
Loma is Lagos Waste Management Authority, and its key function is solid waste management across the states. So as we know by law and by law, solid waste is for local government. So at the point local governments have jointly come together and advocate that Loma should take up that responsibility on behalf of the local government, which is the day-to-day management of solid waste across the state. So the key role of Loma is to ensure that a sustainable, consistent, practicable, and environmental friendly way of waste management, solid waste management, is attained in Lagos. Without Loma, I'll give you an example. Oyingbo Market is one of the markets that's very close to us here, down the road from Ijora there. If there's no Loma for a day, I bet you won't be able to there will be no movement in that place the next day, because the volume of waste that comes out of the day-to-day servicing of that market is enormous on its own. Then the health hazard that will be created as well is ginormous. If you look at the fact that Loma also, as part of our services, we do a lot of marine waste, shoreline waste clearance, where we take a significant amount of waste on a daily basis on our shorelines. We have about 31 channels in Lagos State, draining channels in Lagos. And then we man those channels, and the key front line where all those waste conjugates, most especially plastic. Those are things that we take on a daily basis. Imagine not taking that for a month. What that will do is it will break down to microplastic for fishes to consume, invariably coming back to a lot of us that love fishes in Lagos. That's one. Number two, waste generally is not something that anybody desires to keep with them. If your waste is not picked up for a period of time, it creates an egg hazard. We have rats, Lassa fever, and all those things. Most especially during this pandemic period, I believe and I know by the action that Loma has taken that we were able to mitigate a lot of the effects of COVID in Lagos and Nigeria as a whole through the effects of what Loma did. We as essential services never stop working for one day.
I'm sure if you have gone through around Lagos, you will see waste in bags, black bags, sacks, rice sack, and all of that. All different type of ways of trying to at least contain the waste. So we are introducing a strategy called Adopt a Bin strategy, where every resident in Lagos will at least have one bin, which is at least have somewhere to contain the waste before the waste collector comes to your house. That's one of the reasons why you have all our drainages blocked, all canals blocked, and there's flooding everywhere.
And also, it is more important that everybody patronize the private sector participants that helps to manage this waste across the state. Loma is a regulator, not a participant. So we have private vendors who goes to streets of businesses to catch this waste away, and they have to be paid. So we have instances whereby people are not paying, or the willingness and ability to pay is quite low. So those are the places where Loma will go, will mitigate. Sometimes we do advocacy, sometimes we do enforcement, and sometimes the state bridge provides subsidy for this operator to ensure that a consistent cleaner state is maintained.
The private sector participants, those are the ones that collect the waste from residents. So they are the ones who engage with Lagosians. So they go to your house, they are private investors. They come to your house, they pick up your waste using their compactor trucks. Also, you have to understand sometimes you may have some areas inaccessible, so they deploy different methods of ensuring that their waste is collected anyway, either through the use of tricycle, through the use of open trucks, or through the use of smaller trucks that can, penetrate some bad terrain, if you like. So they collect the waste from your container, hopefully, if you have one. If you don't, maybe it's bagged or what have you. they put it in their truck, then all the way transportation to our dump site, of which we have 5 locations in the state, the biggest being the one in Ojota, Olusoso. So they get into our dump site, you go straight to any of our functional platforms where they tip the waste there, and then the landfill operations takes over. So they then do what they need to do with the waste by pushing and then compacting and then capping. So that's essentially the entire chain of that process. What we want in the near future is a situation where the truck goes to your house, does not collect co-mingled waste, collects a more characterized waste, if you like. So biodegradable that hopefully goes to somewhere else instead of the landfill, and then the recyclables that also goes to maybe a material recovery facility where the different fractions of that waste stream are separated, baled, and then become available for other processes again, or even export or disposal, depending on the different components. And then even the biodegradable, we are trying to get to a place in the near future where biodegradables can also be taken to facilities such as anaerobic digestion technology, where the waste will be subjected to anaerobic to AD system that will degrade the waste and then digest it, and then even produce either gas or even electricity.
So Lagos generates in excess of 12,000 metric ton of waste daily, and that metric ton of waste daily being generated, we are trying our best to ensure a significant amount of that is being carted away regularly. But where does it go? Disposal turnaround time for trucks when you get to our dump site used to be like you go in today, you come back in 2 days time. But now you go in, you're out in 20 minutes, unless you have other businesses to do around that. So that's really increased our productivity. But Lagos comes with its own challenges. Traffic, those are things that delay turnaround times on the other side of it. We have TLS, transfer loading station, we have 3 at the moment. The governor of the Lagos State, has recently just approved for also another 3, which will make 6. What that will simply mean is the turnaround time for our PSPs when they are working in the city, they can go and access the transfer loading station. But for us as well, we need to think ahead. What do we do with the waste coming to transfer loading station before it get commingled with the one in the dump site? We're doing separation of waste from source, and we're going to work with private sector, NGOs, foreign consulate, loads of embassies, loads of research organizations to be able to find the most suitable solution for Lagos. We don't have space, but we need to coexist. We need to exist in a very healthy way with our waste. So that's one thing we'll be doing over the next couple of years. So
now when the landfill is full, one of the strategy we are deploying is to ensure that before the landfill is full, there's another alternative. And when the landfill is full, then we put in place what we call the after use. So here the environmental impact assessment will be done on the landfill, and then you will now have to start thinking of the what possible option you have for that particular landfill in terms of what's the afterlife. People turn it to golf courses around the world. You wouldn't even know it was a landfill before. All of a sudden it's a golf course. So these are possibilities. So we've not had that kind of situation yet. We know it will happen very soon, because by the time the Loma started, I think most of the landfill had about 25-30 years lifespan, which I think they are coming to their end of life very shortly. And that's why Mr. Governor has given us the task of looking for alternative facility where we will now build a more sustainable disposal technology, which is an engineered landfill. At the moment, we are currently engaged in using dump sites, or if you like, controlled dumping. Also, we are introducing recycling from source to ensure that the amount of waste that gets to the dump site in the first place is drastically reduced, by virtue of the recycling initiative that the managing director of LOMA is putting in place, this present MD, Mr. Ibrahim Odumboni.
So there are a couple of things that we're putting in place. For example, on the 16th of December, we're going to be launching a recycling app. And what that simply does is, it's like an Uber app. You can call on your recyclables to be picked up by any of our aggregators or recyclers nearby. They will take it to one of the sorting hub where they will get value from it. And what that will do for us is to reduce the volume of waste me and you are putting into the landfill. Also, we're looking at providing incentive scheme for anyone that is recycling across the state, where people can win cash prizes, holidays, or maybe objects or things, or even airtime for participating in recycling.
I'm happy you alluded to the fact that when you are coming in, you saw some of the innovations that we are about to put in place. Some of those things you saw downstairs, they will be at the airports, hospitals, public places like the like Alausa, where we have state of government, and all those, schools, and like university, Unilag, University of LASU. We'll start from some of these organized areas and change the culture of recycling. Drink your Coke, drink your plastic, don't just throw it anywhere. there is something, one receptacle somewhere that you can just drop it to, instead of just throwing it somewhere. So we are hoping that will begin to set the tone for attitudinal change in that direction. Also, it is important to note that those countries like Germany, France, England, they've transited, so the journey they have gone through to get to that kind of point where you allude to is, we must agree, is a long journey when you look at the perspective of Lagos State, or indeed Nigeria, or in fact sub-Saharan Africa. And that is simply because we are still going through attitudinal change. So all this we know and we are conscious of. So we don't want to fly, you don't want to engage in unicorn projects where flying horses, something more of illusion rather than reality. So we are trying as much as possible to engage in what is real, what is possible, and then hopefully there will be a kind of gradual process where people now become comfortable, and not only comfortable but find it extremely difficult to do certain things because of attitudinal changes that would have occurred over time as a result of some of these measures that we are putting in place. The other one is the extended producer responsibility. You see, all these companies who are engaged in producing the Coca-Cola, the plastic, the water bottle, and all of that. The Ministry of Environment is at the moment currently trying to come up with a policy on plastic policy. So when that policy comes out, it's with us now, it's with LOMA, because we are going to implement it. So we are having our own input in it. So once we then go to the stakeholders level, where everybody now comes and look at it before it becomes the policy of the state when it comes to plastic, we are going to ensure that the Coca-Colas of this world, the 7-Up, and all these big beverage and drink companies understand their responsibility in what they are creating. They are the one creating all these menace. So they must take responsibility for what they are doing to the environment. So as such, we have no choice. It's something that we must partner with the relevant authorities, the relevant stakeholders, and get to a point where we all agree that unless we want to destroy the environment, something has to be done, and this is the only direction that we can go, and that is why we are taking that initiative.
I know that a whole lot of organizations that producers of plastic packaging have come together to seek solutions. Whether the solutions they have profiled are sustainable is a different thing. But I know that some have come under, you mentioned Coca-Cola, yes, 7-Up, Nigerian breweries, Pepsi, and so on and so forth. Some of these corporate organizations, producers of plastic packaging, have come under. I know that there's an organization known as FIBRA, or Food and Beverages Recycling Alliance. It's an association of producers of plastic packaging. This association, through this association, these producers have been able to come up with initiatives that support recycling facilities for a buyback of plastic waste in our society. So you find a lot of recycling facilities giving incentives to the communities for them to bring back plastics. So that is happening. I also know that that some other producers of plastic packaging have refused to join that association, and they are not. I mean, as a lawyer, I understand that being a part of any association is a voluntary thing, so they are not under obligation to join the Food and Beverages Recycling Alliance. But if you fail to join them, then you on your own should give us intangible and measurable terms of what you are doing to buy back the plastics. So companies like Biggie, the manufacturers of Biggie, I think they are called the Right Food, something like that, Right Food Limited, the manufacturers of Biggie, and some other, like Casera. So these organizations have not shown responsibility. As we speak now, we just have a draft plastic waste policy in Lagos. Remember, Lagos is the most advanced of the states in Nigeria in terms of waste management. Now, if Lagos State, the most advanced, in my own words, is still at the level of a draft plastic waste policy, then you can imagine what goes on in other states. In response to your question, how do we educate the people? I said that we design different mediums that we use for the high net worth, for the middle class, and for the people at the grassroots level. For the high net worth stakeholders, including the government and corporate organizations, we host a citizen forum. A citizens forum that we have tagged Lagos Waste Forum. A high-level citizens forum on waste reduction and management. During this forum, we're able to invite government representatives, government agencies, recyclers, waste managers, corporate organizations to discuss how citizens could be involved in waste reduction. Now, that is with respect to government and policy formulators and things like that. Then there is the town hall meetings that we organize at the local government levels. That is a talk show where we get the people at the grassroots level, I mean the people in their communities, to interface with experts and people who have better knowledge on community waste management. We come to the different communities, organize town halls, get the baales, the chiefs, and community gatekeepers, resident associations. They attend this meeting and we're able to talk with them and give them pass information across to them on how to manage waste within their communities sustainably. Then the third arm is the community sensitization program that we hold. That is the one you participated in last Saturday. The community sensitization program, you see, when you tell people come out to clean your environment, people do not really reconcile with what you say. They want to see what you do. So for them, for us, what we do is to model what we ask them to do, to model it by being examples of what we are asking them to do. So each time whenever we are able to visit a community, we do not just come sensitizing them, but in addition to the sensitization, we carry out sanitation to show them example of what we want them to do. Education is very important, but our idea is, let's educate the people first. Let's take this message to them. They are the generators of waste. The people at the community level, they are the ones that should pay, that the government expects to pay for waste disposal services. They are the ones to deal with the private sector participation contractors. They are the ones that interface with waste directly. Now, if they don't know, our mothers and our parents in their local communities do not know, somebody needs to tell them. So the Waste in the City campaign is just a community sensitization and sanitation advocacy program, or SWEEP. We have been to several communities and several local governments in Lagos State particularly. We've been to Kokagoda, we've been to Sulere, we've been to mainland, that's the one you participated in. We've been to Etiosa, we've been to Ikorodu, you know. We'll continue going. The intention is to inspire the people to change their lifestyle. The intention is behavioral change.
Basically, Loma Academy, we can say it's like the educational arm of Loma that's aimed to drive a literacy reform of the solid waste management sector. We have our advocacy team, and they are ready in the inner streets. They go out every morning to sensitize people about proper waste management. They go out to tell people not to drop their waste on the drain or to drop their waste on the highways. And we believe education is key. We believe that in the long run, we are going to have properly enlightened society that will show some love and respect for the environment. Then this group you met this morning are actually taking up e-waste. So this morning now we took them to sites all on Loma to the sites to proceed with their work, and we are sure going to support, because we know their intents, so they are here to learn, and they are not being paid much. So whatever initiative they had, we have to support it and make sure it materializes.
The third group of interns that we have, so we take intern on a monthly basis, about 10 of them. These are students or graduates, recent graduates that are keen to know about waste management. They spend a month with us, we take them through the practical knowledge, and then they will, at the end of the day, they come up with a project. So the third intern came to me this morning and they said, Mr. Brahim, we came up with an idea of a shredding machine that looks like a grinding machine for pepper, and that shredding machine can shred plastic into 3 different modes, either the medium, large, or chunky ones. So basically what they're saying to me is, with what they design mechanically, they designed it mechanically, everything is all mechanical, and they came up with a machine that cost about 316,000 to build. But what that machine does is, that machine can easily be in any community, and the moment they load it in there, shredded plastic comes out.
If you see aluminum or rubber or iron at the carrier, give us, you buy. If you buy them, then go give money, then go see come out the truck money inside. So if I reach 1 week, if I are not bringing the same rubber or iron or aluminum, I will give them 500 naira to money for 1 week.
So we have informal recycling. Very robust. The informal, even if you go to our dump site now, you see on thousands of scavengers picking out all these things, plastic, bottle, whatever is recyclable. And you see trucks coming into the dump site to collect them and buy them from there right there at the dump site. And then these trucks take them to their own companies where they now further process them.
We accept a lot of recyclables. We accept PET bottles, we accept papers, we accept aluminium cans, we accept tin, we accept paper, we accept cardboard, we accept random plastic, bleach plastics, glass bottles, a lot. So we have subscribers that bring recyclables to our hub. Although anyone can bring recyclables, once you bring recyclables here, we register you immediately and turn you to a subscriber. So you can just walk in, bring your recyclables and become our subscriber, or you're an existing subscriber that just wants to bring your recyclable here. Either ways, it works for us. So when you bring recyclables to us in bulk, we give you cash, and that is where we introduce the VREX, Recyclers Recycling Exchange, where people bring in their recyclables and collect gifts, cash gifts instantly. Okay, so we are Recyclers, a recycling company that is committed to powering social change through low-income waste management infrastructure. We talk to people, we encourage them to recycle with us so that they can capture value from their waste. So, scavengers bring the PET bottles here, their recyclables, they bring them here, we pay them. Households bring their recyclables here, we pay them. Usually, those from households, they collect their cash gifts quarterly, because the amount of recyclables they generate in their homes might not be enough to get an instant cash. So they come here, they bring it. It's sort of like saving. So when you save this amount of recyclables with us today. That's the essence of recording. So we record it, we send to them. They know that, okay, I have so amount of recyclables with recyclers. They bring another one the next day, like that. And when it's 4 months, it becomes huge, and then they get cash for it. While scavengers and other clients bring in bulk, they might bring 100 kilogram PET, they might bring 1 ton, so they get their money instantly. And some of these scavengers, we help them by going to their end to bring the recyclables. If we feel that these recyclables are so many and it will cost them a lot to bring it here, just go to their hand, pick them up, wait in their presence and pay them. The people working at the background are sorters, so they kind of like start the recycling process. They remove label from these PET bottles. They sort sachets by types, these nylons by types. They put sachets in a separate bag, put nylons in a separate bag, loads and the rest of them. So they are mostly women, because we think that women are kind of like marginalized in our society, and we try to encourage them, empower them to work so that they can earn income for themselves. So our company is constituted by 60% of female workers. These are PET bottles, comes in clear bottle, blue bottle, brown, green, white, like outright white. So when these materials are brought, they are sorted by colors first. We take green separately, take brown separately, and then they are sorted by removing labels. So we remove labels and then we remove the covers. When these labels or covers are removed, we then put them in jumbo bags. Same thing goes for the nylon. Low, which is the nylon that is used to package all these bottled water, these soft drinks, are sorted away from sachets. And sachets are sorted away from I, which is the bag that is used to bag these pure water sachets. So when these materials are sorted, they are put into separate bags. Same thing with glass bottles. They are sorted by colors. We have green bottles, almost like PET, green, brown, white, clear. We sort papers away from cardboards, and we sort aluminium cans away from tin. So when these materials are sorted, they are then taken for scaling. When we weigh these materials, that's how we pay our sorters also. After these materials have been weighed, we then take them to the baling section. So the baler is used to compress these materials. And the essence of baling these materials is for us to manage our space. So a bale of a PET bottle contains about 15 bags of PET bottles. Imagine having 1,000 bags of PET bottles. Do you get? Or having 1,500 bags of PET bottles. Well, you can compress them into, say, 15 bales rather. So we have companies like Bolus. Bolus use these papers. They make it into a pulp where they now recycle it finally into tissue papers. So these papers can also be used to make newspapers, magazine papers, and the likes. So these aluminium cans are used to make these carts for our tricycles, for our cargo bikes, and others. While the PET bottles are taken to other companies to either make ski jackets, make pillow stuffings, make a lot of things out of them. We have our facilities in a lot of places in Lagos, strategic places. We have locations where we collect recyclables. Places like, this is Ebute Meta, we have Amakoko, we have at Aja, Badore, Obalende, Lagos Island, Sele, Kilo, Ejibo, Ikorodu, even Ogun State, we have at Adamawa, Abuja, we have in a lot of places.
40% of what majority of us generates is recyclable. If that is taken away, the volume that goes into the dump site is massively reduced. From that volume, we can now get the refuse derived for, which is the quality of the waste. Can actually be, some of them can actually be shredded, baled out, and then used for other things. Anything that will make waste almost disappear is what Lagos needs. Anything that will reduce the volume that goes into landfill is what we're going to promote in Loma.
So where you can recycle, recycle. Where you cannot recycle, that's when we look into co-processing. And when you look at typical wastes anywhere, it's obvious you cannot recycle everything. You cannot reduce everything. There's that component that would definitely not worth to recycle because it may either be too costly or does not make sense. So when you look into that part, that's the part we want to concentrate on, to say that I can then co-process it, so that, because you want the whole concept of waste management to be complete, you are not competing with each other. So recycling it to take its part, we take our part. So in essence, GeoCircle is looking at more of a waste management that is more or less cradle to cradle, not cradle to grave. And the logic is, in human endeavor, definitely you generate waste. So what next after? And that's why GeoCircle is leveraging on the cement technology to tap into the opportunity to say that instead of us dumping waste, let's be part of the solution. Basically, for waste, what do you want to do? You want to destroy it. I want to destroy at a very high temperature that will not impact or contribute additional emission. So you cannot do it most of the time at a lower temperature. The beauty of cement industry is we co-process whatever we need to do with the raw material. If I'm using gas, I have to co-process it with the material. For that reason, it means I can take my waste, prepare it to a form that is usable, and feed it into my system at that temperature, which we call co-process, and it will not emit additional emission because cement industry is already equipped to take care of emission. And if you understand the basic chemistry, cement is lime, so it's a kind of, that atmosphere is a kind of a scrubber that will also take any emission that may be harmful away. So it gives you the opportunity to combat the emission from waste, and then you'll now use the waste also to generate additional heat. So in the process of that, you now start delving to, today knowledge we call about circular economy, where I'm not just producing my cement from the natural occurring material of fuel, like gas, like coal, but I'm now putting a combination of my gas and any waste that can combust. And when you look at typical waste in society, go to a typical landfill, what do you see? Paper, nylon, cloth, waste food. Those are the things you will see. And when you take a paper, strike a match, put it, what do you see? Flame. So which means those things can combust in the right atmosphere. So that's the synergy between them, in that you are leveraging one technology of a high temperature to technically destroy the material, but you are not only destroying, you are also recovering resources. I'm recovering it. So instead of me, for example, to use, let's say, about 1,000 kg of gas, I may end up using 50. The rest 50 I get from waste. Waste is renewable because we will always generate it. We also work with some agricultural produce because they generate a lot of biomass. And that's why I'm saying that you need to understand, am I paying or are they paying? And you need to understand the structure you are running. If I look at the agricultural sector in our country, when you do the math and it makes sense to put some money down for them to sustain it, yes. But for industry, people need to be responsible. A waste producer needs to be responsible for his waste.
In 10 years' time, I see us transforming from a Loma or a state where we dispose of our waste to dump sites into sanitary landfills, which Mr. Governor, by the way, Mr. Governor is very much interested in ensuring that in his first term we transform from controlled dumping into a more engineered landfill approach for our waste disposal.
In 10 years, I see recyclers evolving into a full-fledged recycling company that now produces new products from our recyclables. Ultimately, I see us doing bottle to bottle. I see us making these stuffs we talk about that other people make. I see us making them. And ultimately, I see us being the largest, most profitable recycling company in Africa. And of course, empowering the continent into becoming a leading global player in the recycling sector.
In 10 years, I want to see a sweep center. I want to see a sweep center, a center for waste management education. I want to see sweep being part of those who formulate waste policies for the country. I want to see sweep developing curricula for waste management education. I want to see sweep being part of a new waste management culture across the country. I want to see a center where people will come to acquire waste management education and get certified certificates that can be presented anywhere in the world.
That's what we look at. That's the plan. That's the future we all see. That will give us a lot of opportunity, a lot of leverage, and we'll be part championing the zero waste in society, zero net emission, where your CO level is very, very low. So at the end of the day, our climate can be better, and some of this impact we see everywhere can be reduced. So we're championing that cause, and we believe other industry will follow suit, so that we can have a huge leverage. Statistics is showing the whole world will produce about 4 billion tons of waste, but most of it will die in the landfill. We can change the narratives, which we need to. So that's what I see in the future.
So in the next 5 years, I see us making a significant breakthrough in terms of refuse-derived fuel, waste to energy into movable energy, either by gasification or any other means of moving that, to achieving sanitary landfill latest in 10 years' time.
We want to raise that consciousness that the environment has a way of fighting back. So we can't continually degrade our environment and expect to have a better environment. So we are imploring to all that we should all be responsible towards our environment and towards our waste disposal. If you don't want the waste in your house, we don't want it on our streets. So we want everybody to do it well so that we have a better Lagos for all of us.